And what was surprising to me is kind of how I did. So there are 1,128 puzzles. 222 are easy, 762 are intermediate, and the rest, the 144, are advanced. I started with the easy, which the book recommends, and I did pretty well on those. I didn't go through all 222. I went through a bunch of them, and I was getting like a 90% rate on those. And so I decided to push myself towards the intermediates. And I frankly found I did pretty well on the intermediates too. And what I attribute that to is once you have uh, built up some visualization and calculation abilities, once you can see a board in your head 4 moves, 5 moves deep, then you really are ready to start tackling some intermediate puzzles. And the patterns that are common around, knowing all the motifs, pins and skewers and back rank mates and the rest of it, it really helps you prepare yourself for harder puzzles. So I really enjoyed the puzzles themselves. I appreciated their answers even more because I've read lots of puzzle books, and many of them are good puzzles, but they'll give maybe the first two or three uh, variations, and then it's for you to figure out why it's good or not. Where the woodpecker method authors really take the time to explain why you're better after the moves it recommends, which is really helpful. I would say, yeah, I would say first work on some Maton one and twos if you're like below 1400, uh, and you don't need the book. You can just use the method that we've described. But I think once you get, I would say, 1500 to whatever, maybe 22, 2300, like would probably get some benefit from this. I mean, I've beaten players in slow tournament games over 2000, and I'm more like a 1700 player, and I did that purely by seeing basic tactics that they missed. So I think even 2000 players sometimes overestimate their ability to do basic tactics. So I think lots of people could benefit from this book. I thought that was cool. In fact, I skipped through some of the advanced stuff just to look at it. I noticed Lasker's double bishop sacrifice, and I've seen enough puzzle books to know some famous games. But I thought it was cool, and I think it gives you a little chess culture, a little chess history. And I should probably also say, I've been doing daily chess tactics training for like 40 years straight, and so I'm not surprised that like the intermediates were a little more up my alley after doing 4 years daily versus you not doing 4 years daily.
Yeah,
So, I think that even I found a lot of value even though I do tactics pretty much every single day. So I mean, if someone is doing them every day is getting value, then probably most people would get some value out of this book. Yeah, I frankly think openings has a lot to do with memory, and tactics has a lot to do with skill. And skills are things like muscles; they get stronger as you use them. So I think that there's something interesting about tactics that you really can tell when you're practicing. And I'm a big believer in if I only have time, I'll do one in a day. And I
yeah,
did something. That's
yeah.
it's always frequency over volume. Frequency always trumps volume. Yeah, and if what I found is if I do 200 in a chunk, I can get through all my cycles in about a month, and I can get through 200 in my final cycle in under an hour. And if you have 30 to 45 minutes, you can do a variant of the woodpecker method, and I guarantee you will get better. Everyone will get better because it's a skill that you can get better at. Tactics is frankly a visualization skill. Yeah, I mean the thing I
Anything?
would I would finish with, which again, it's a big difference between the first book, Rapid Chess Improvement and Woodpecker Method, is they're really flexible. They really recommend, if the first few easy puzzles are hard, then just go after those 200 or so. And even if you think that they're pretty easy, it wouldn't be bad to review them if you're more advanced. So I think I really appreciate the flexibility that the authors give you. It's not an all or nothing, and that's frankly more realistic for someone's life. Yeah, and I would say, you can be 18. I mean, I started doing this process of daily cycling through tactics in my late 40s. And I can tell you, I struggled to see 2 move, 3 move visualization exercises. And now I can do 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes 8. So that's just, it's a skill. you got to believe you can get better, and if you work at it, you will. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, I took a few lessons from a really well-known grandmaster who told me that he, in a summer, he just spent a summer working on Reinfeld's 101 best, combinations books. And in one summer, he kind of shot up. And I know Silman in one of his books talks about like there was a summer where he jumped from like 1400s to like 1800s. Like I never got that kind of a jump. And I don't know that you can in your 40s have that kind of a jump. What took them months might take me years. But I think it's still true that you can get better. Yeah, I really like the ones that Dan Heisman recommended. I will recommend if you're just starting off. There's a Bain Chess Tactics for Students books that's good. It's very basic, but it's good. I really liked Simple Checkmates by Gillum. I think that's another. You gotta start with the foundations of knowing the different kinds of mates. I know you like, and I love the Coakley books, all of them. So
Yeah.
I would start not with the blue one, which is a little harder, but I would start with the Chess Puzzles for Kids, volumes 1 and 2, and then go to the strategy book and then the blue book. I think that what's each one of those is the tactics books are 900 puzzles each, and they keep showing the same pattern with different variations over and over again. And what that does is it ingrains these patterns in your brain. And so those are all kind of more um, basic level ones. I really loved Polgar's Chess Tactics for Champions. All of these books are in my set of 8,000. Tactics Time 1 and 2, uh, I also have in the set. And so all of those are ones I highly recommend. I think in the very beginning, it's kind of like a lot of people say start with end games. I think that if you don't know how to mate with two rooks, or if you don't know how to mate with a king and a queen, then or even a rook and a king, or two bishops. I mean, all of those basic mating patterns, I think you have to know, because then you're walking into your end games confident that if you have overwhelming material, you will end the game with a win. I think though that what I don't like are the books where they say, well, here are all the pins, and then here are all the skewers, and then here are all the forks, and here are all the mates. I actually think that it gives the illusion of knowledge, and no one during a game one says this is a win, and they
Right.
definitely don't say this is a win with a pin.
Yeah.
So I purposely, whenever I've bought books, and one of the benefits of flashcards is I mix them up so that there is no pattern. Uh, I'm actually right now making tactics cards out of Practical Chess Exercises, which is an awesome book, and maybe we can talk about that in another episode that Ray Chen wrote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Great book.
and he purposely didn't have any pattern or rhyme or reason to it. He puts in some positional stuff. He puts in some tactical stuff. You have no idea whether it's a defensive tactic or an offensive tactic. I think that's how games are. And so I think once you get past the very basics, you should mix it up. I mean, Chessable's made a whole business on this science of
Yeah.
repetition.
Exactly.
So, like, it works on all things, all elements of chess. And I have endgame puzzles I've reviewed. I've got positional puzzles I've reviewed. I've got opening puzzles. When I get to a point in the opening, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I can make a card out of that, much like you can on Chessable. So, this space repetition works for all elements of chess, I think. Definitely, and I like that he went full old school and did the CRT, or the CD, the CD-ROM that De La Maza recommends. The thing I
Right.
would say is I would really be curious if anyone who spent 8 to 15 hours did any tactics the next day. I think we did. I think De La Maza broke ground, and it was version 1, and it was good. It was mostly theory. I think the woodpecker method was version 2. It had not just the theory, but the problems and the answers, which are obviously better to have all three. And I think that if you find a way to practice this kind of repetition in some way that you make a daily habit, your chess will get better. I mean, one of the things I do is I actually have a chess tactics playlist. I only play it when I'm doing tactics. I put it on when I'm on my train, or I do it when I'm doing it from home. And when that first song hits, I know I'm in tactics focus time. And so there are a lot of things you can do. You can also like give yourself a reward when you're done. Like I tend to post a chess puzzle I found interesting that day on Twitter, and that's a little reward from me for doing the work. So there's a lot of little tips and tricks you can do to keep it interesting on a daily basis.